record. There goes the encoder, and you are good to go.
I love doing a little dance when we start things off. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Tales from the Barside. I'm your host, Remy, and this is my lovely co-host, Lauren.
Hi.
And we got a couple of friends with us tonight. Yeah. Got Joe, one of the sharpest dressed bartenders I've ever met in my life. Definitely the sharpest, best dressed bartender in Detroit. And our good friend Shane has joined us too. Welcome, fellas.
Thanks. Hi, it's a pleasure.
It's good to see both of you. So the reason that we're having both of you on tonight, it's just so funny. Like the biggest bar night of the year came up, and Joe, you had shared a post that Shane wrote on Facebook, basically talking about how bartenders always miss holidays because we're always working, or if we do show up to holidays, we're exhausted from working the night before. And that rang true with me. It was familiar. I was like, oh man, that's awesome. So I loved it and reached out to Joe and was like, hey, you want to come on and talk about that? He's like, well, I got to bring Shane on too, because he's the one who wrote it. Shane, did you end up pulling it up on your phone or whatever?
Yeah, I got it here.
Awesome, man. It would be cool, like, just to hear the guy who wrote it in his own voice saying it, just for all of our bartender friends out there. So if you want to read that real quick.
For sure. Just a little backstory about that. I had thinking about it, I was thinking about for Thanksgiving, and it just kind of, and I was thinking, seeing all these posts on Facebook of people saying like, I can't believe I'm not gonna be with my family and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, dude, I haven't been with my family in so long on holidays.
Right.
And I went to bed. I went to sleep and I woke up and just like checked my phone, and it had like 150 shares. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, apparently there's a bunch of people that agree with what I had to say. So yeah, basically this is what I wrote. I said, while you were celebrating the busiest bar night of the year, I was working it, showing up the next day to my family's house exhausted, too tired to socialize or eat. While you were putting presents under your tree and eating cookies, I was working. I didn't wake up until the afternoon Christmas Day because I was so exhausted. I ordered Chinese food because it's all I had in me, and that's all that was open. While you were giving your New Year's babe a smooch, I was pouring champagne. We serve an extra 2 hours that night. I slept for the first day of the new year. You can miss a holiday, I promise you. I've been doing it for years.
Absolutely. And every weekend. I miss every fucking weekend.
Spot on. Every year my family has a big Christmas party, like the Saturday before Christmas. And I'm like, I can't go. I can't turn down $300 right before Christmas to not go to to not work a Saturday night. I'm like, I'm sorry. That's just the nature of the business. And, holiday money is so good, you can't turn it down. And, so you miss out on stuff. Do you miss out on birthday parties?
I've asked friends and family before when they've invited me to, they know that it's on a Saturday. I'm like, oh, we're going to have this, this birthday party or this thing on a Saturday. And I'm like, cool, are you going to give me $350? Because I need to make my rent still. Like, I can show up to your birthday party, but then I might not have a house next week.
Right.
So,
exactly.
It's not even about like it's not even necessarily about like the monetary, the amount of money. It's just the fact that like weekend nights, big holiday shifts, this time of year, especially, getting into Christmas and New Year's, this is always like the busy time in the bars, and not making that cash. I mean, it can really make or break, certain things for you. So
I completely agree. I especially working in a nightclub, it's like the only days we're only open Fridays and Saturdays. So if I'm unable to work one Saturday, that means that I'm missing out on, an eighth of my income at that point. It's like, seriously, I can only work so many days. There's only so many days to work every month for me. And, of course we're open for like big holidays and stuff. And it's like, I can't remember a day that I didn't work Thanksgiving Eve, Thanksgiving night, Christmas Eve, Christmas night. I was always the one that would take those shifts because big money.
Oh yeah, New Year's. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I've had the good fortune, especially the past couple of years, where I've kind of started to subscribe to the idea that no amount of money is worth my sanity. And working on like opening day, St. Practice Day, parade day, New Year's Eve, the night before Thanksgiving, I'm all set on that. I'll work a couple of extra days that month to make up for it. But I definitely have been in that position up until the past couple of years where I don't want to, I see my family so seldom anyway. I really want to be able to be there when I'm there instead of like having to go crash for like 3 hours while they're opening presents or cutting cake or, having the main courses.
The one that gets me is when you work for like a smaller place and they decide to be open on one of the big barbecue weekend holidays.
Like
so
Labor
like,
Day.
Or 4th of July
4th
or
of
Memorial
July,
Day. It's
yeah.
like, look, everybody is on a boat or barbecuing anyways. Your bar does not have to be open. Like, let us, I'm working Thanksgiving Eve. I'm working Christmas Eve. I'm working New Year's Eve. I miss out on all these holidays. The least you can do is close down, shut down shop for the barbecue holidays so that I can go spend some time with my family. But, those places are few and far between as well. And you have to pick and choose your battles. Like every once in a while, you can take a holiday off to go do something or a special occasion or something like that. I remember missing two Saturday nights so that I could go to my buddy's bachelor party and then stand up in his wedding. And I'm like, this is the first time I ever got to stand up in a wedding. So I got to take a couple Saturday nights off. And I did what you did, Joe. It's like worked a couple extra shifts, just tried to budget that month to make it work. But it stung. It was like, I missed two Saturday nights. I had to spend money on the bachelor party and rent a tuxedo for the thing. It was like, that was a really pricey wedding that the marriage didn't even last a year, by the way. So
I've been there.
how many times have you been married for less than a year? Oh, not you.
No. I've been in a wedding that lasted for less than 6 months, and it was brutal how much money I had to pay. So I don't even talk to them anymore.
You take the good with the bad, but to your point, Shane.
My wife and I were actually.
Go ahead. Say what you're gonna say.
Oh, sorry. I must be on a huge delay. My wife and I were actually just speaking earlier. We were just talking about like touching base on the same thing about missing holidays and all that kind of stuff. But one of the big things that we were talking about was, some places you're not even allowed to request those days off. You risk losing your actual job.
Well,
so if you were to even request it off, they're like, oh, well, then you don't want your job here anymore. So you can't even request them off if you want to. It's and I feel bad. Sometimes I've been, bartending for over a decade, and it comes with its ups and its downs. And I think that, trying to make your family and your friends understand those things, like my schedule is completely different than your 9. This is my day off, and I'm ready to, hang out and party, and you might not be because you have to get up and go to your 9 to 5
right
day.
Well, and I think that's part of
on Monday.
That's kind of that's why we become family with our bartender friends, like the industry friends become like family to you because everybody's got Monday off and Tuesday off. Everybody takes Sunday night, Monday night off so that they can go out. And those are our weekend days when we go out and party and stuff like that. Everybody else is, like you said, getting up, going to their 9 to 5 jobs. They're not hanging with us anymore.
Right.
But, there's something to be said for, not watching your little cousins grow up and missing 5, 6, 7 family Christmas parties in a row and stuff like that. Luckily, Thanksgiving, unless you're working downtown for like the football games, like you can get Thanksgiving night off because a lot of places are closed, so that one was good. But there was a couple of times when I had to work and, everybody's watching the game and then going home and eating turkey, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's 100 drunk people here that don't have family to go to, so I gotta keep getting them drunker. Right.
I basically have to aid in people not having somewhere to go, even though I have somewhere I could go. Yeah. I have to be there to make sure that those people have somewhere that they can go too. So
that's kind of another occupational hazard of our industry is we do deal with a lot of people, even though we do have families. I don't see mine very often, but there are people who come in. I may be the only person that they see that day, so they come in and they hang out. And then like, I'm thinking specifically of one guy right now that comes into where I'm at in Berkeley, and he would come in and hang out for like 3-4 hours. And it was just fantastic. He would bring in some of his other friends, but he had nobody else to hang out with. He had no family in the neighborhood, and that was it.
I might be the only conversation or the only friendly face.
Yeah, and I'm a giver. I'm a bit, of an empath. I'm compassionate. If somebody needs an ear, I've got an ear. If somebody needs a shoulder, I'm here for it. It's all part of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, to go along, with the whole point of this podcast is, it is a sad, unfortunate part of the industry.
And I feel like there's got to be something we can do to get around that for everybody too.
Right.
I've worked at places where you had to work 2 out of the 3 big holiday nights coming up. Like you can either have the biggest bar night of the year off, Christmas Eve off, or New Year's off. You pick one and then they rotate them out. And I was like, well, that's fair. What's your favorite one? What do you want to do this year? Would you rather celebrate on New Year's Eve? To me, I don't even like celebrating on New Year's Eve anymore. I've worked so many of them that it's just like, if I'm not working it, I'm not going out to a bar or a big party or something like that. I'd rather just hang out with a small group of friends or my family or something like that. But I get it. It's like, if you give them the choice, like you can have one of the 3 big holidays off, but you got to work the other 2. That seems like a fair way to do it, if you've got the staff to cover that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I mentioned earlier, I've had the good fortune of being able to pick and choose. And as we can all attest to this, after you've been in this industry so long, I've kind of gained some steel where I'm like, I don't request days off. I inform you in advance when I'm not going to be there. End of story. You're not approving the request. You're covering my spot. Done. Oh, you don't like that? Sorry, there's about 7 other people right down the road who are dying to get me behind their bar. And it's a very arrogant thing to say, but we're all very good at what we do. This is why we're in the position we are in the city that we live in, and that's that.
I've definitely said to a boss before, I'm not asking. I'm telling you I'm not going to be here. So if that means I don't have a job afterwards, that's fine. Because I can find another job. Like I'm very good at what I do. Yep. I'm a strong bartender. I'm a fast bartender. I'm a knowledgeable bartender. So a million places will hire me in a heartbeat to put me on their staff. And I am very good about making sure that I give you plenty of time, plenty of notice. If there's a festival I'm going to, believe me, about it 6 months in advance. There's no excuse for you not to be able to cover
I already
that.
bought my plane ticket. Sorry.
Right. I'm leaving. I'm not going to be here. Sorry.
Now, and another side of that too is like you mentioned earlier, that we are family to each other because we are so deeply ingrained and embedded into this industry. We are each other's family. But we do have to have allegiance. It's not like we're just bouncing around. I mean, Shane, how long have you been where you're at right now? You've been there since they opened.
Yep, where I'm at currently, I've been there since day one. We would be celebrating our 5 years, but I've also, with the company, we've opened up 2 other spots, and I've been at all of those places as well. So one is a craft cocktail bar, and the other main place that I work every weekend is a nightclub. And then on top of that, I've worked at Paint Lady now for 3 or 4 years. Worked at Tangent on and off for about 7 years. Like it's you have this time to do it, and it's again, like you were saying, like if I want something off, it's like it's not really. I'm not. I hate to say that, I'm not asking, but I'm just saying, like this is what's gonna need to happen for me to continue to have sanity.
Right.
Exactly.
I don't go into places being like, "Fuck you, I'm not coming in." It's like.
No,
listen, I am here
amateur.
every single shift. I make sure I'm here early. I'm always the last one to leave. I do all of my work without ever being scolded or told, how to do it. I come in and I do my fucking job, and I do it very well.
Here's the other thing. Like, I'm not going to call off. Like, I'm just not. I don't call off. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know if I'm coming
unless
down
I'm in
with
my
something,
deathbed, you best.
Right, exactly. I'm not gonna be sick as
I'm not
hell.
calling off unless I literally I have 110 fever and I'm shitting myself.
Right. Then I'm gonna call off. But no, like I can count on one hand the times that I've called off in my career, almost 20 years as a bartender, and I still have change from the 5 fingers. You know what I mean? Like you just don't call off. I've come in drunk, I've come in hungover, I've come in under the weather, I've come in exhausted, but like I'm not that guy that's gonna call off. And not everybody in our industry is like that. There's a lot of shady people out there that they'll call off so they can go to a concert or a ball game or just go hang out with their friends or whatever. And so like the owners do have to protect themselves. The management has to protect themselves to an extent, but it's like you said, if I give you plenty of notice, if I give you more than 2 weeks notice, 3 weeks notice that I'm going to be going somewhere, I've got a special event to go to, cover my shift, man. It's not,
Right.
we're not doing brain surgery here and I'm the only guy that knows how to do it. It's making fucking drinks, right? Like
Right.
get somebody else to pour the fucking drinks
Putting
one.
stuff
You'll-
in cups.
You'll be fine.
If
But
I've ever
that's-
had to cover a shift, I've always been the one to cover my own shift. When
Mhm.
I'm requesting time off, then I expect you to cover my shift.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm giving you plenty of time to schedule around that and figure that out. But if I'm sick for some reason or something, I will call around and ask somebody, can you take my shift? I'll go into work if nobody can take my shift, and hopefully they'll send me home, or I just power through it.
Yeah.
Right. But to kind of go along with what you were talking about, not just giving or jumping ship or, we've all been in this business long enough. We have to garner the respect of the house that we're working out of.
Mhm.
And if we respect them by treating their house properly, more often than not, they'll respect us with our wishes of time off, or maybe, hey,
absolutely.
let me get out of here, let me do this thing. And, what comes around goes around, and we're all mature enough and we're professional enough in this industry to where we don't have to be like, and we don't always have to be, but it's happened where, you don't like the fact that I'm not going to be here that day? Peace. I'm going to be over here working right next door, making twice as much money for them that you could have had. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's, there's loyalty up to a certain point. Once you show me that I'm not that loved, then all right, fine. There's plenty of places that will love me,
And how
Loyalty is a
fortunate,
two-way street for sure.
exactly.
Yes.
And how fortunate are all of us right now that we have that acumen, that sort of credibility, that respect in the industry, that we can go just about anywhere. People know us for what we do, and they're like,
Mhm.
I know what you do, and I like what you do. Keep up the good work. If you ever happen to need a shift, or I mean, that's kind of how we all do it down here,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll drink to that.
Oh, are we doing shots?
I'm doing a shot if you guys are ready.
What are you
She's got a bag of
doing?
wine. She's doing a shot of
Oh,
wine.
were we not
Slap in the
bag?
Slapping
it.
it.
Slap in a bag. Ah, that's good stuff.
What are y'all drinking?
Well, I'll give you 3 guesses. It's whiskey, and the first 2 don't count.
Does it happen to be from a very emerald-colored island?
It might be, sir. It might be.
It might be.
I'm drinking Boda Box.
I recently moved.
Boda Box is
recently
good.
moved, and they had one chipped shot glass and then one shot glass here, and so this one, it came with a free shot glass, and I'm like, all right, I'll get it. I'm like,
What does it say? Oh, tell them we're due. Got
Yeah.
it.
I'm so grateful to see you doing that one and not the J word.
I love Jameson too. I love all whiskey really, except for Jack Daniels. That's the one I don't do. Sorry if Jack Daniels wanted to sponsor our podcast, you can't.
Oh, whoops.
All right.
They
Anybody
just
but old
started
number 7.
backspacing on that giant contract they were writing us.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost.
Put that checkbook back in your pocket there, buddy.
Oh,
No, I don't hate him. It just makes me. It does something to me. It turns me crazy. It's the one whiskey that
Right.
makes me. I mean, a lot of whiskey makes me an idiot, but like that stuff specifically.
believe we've had a few idiotic nights.
1 or 2, my friend. 1 or 2.
Not even mad about it.
Shane, what are you sipping on over there? You got something tasty beverage?
Oh, that claw.
Oh yeah.
Is
I'm
it the
drinking
mango?
White Girl Seltzer.
Is it
No, this
mango?
is lemon, but I have a mango. I have
it's
a
a
mango on
lemon,
deck
okay.
right here.
Mango's the best one.
I do like the
Have a
mango,
little
but
daiquiri.
And
oh my gosh.
some 1800 tequila that I'm just shooting because
There you
it's
go.
out
nice.
of the corner store.
Well, I'm sipping on mostly lemon and or I'm sorry, chamomile and lavender tea, but I got a little bit of this guy right here.
Oh, there you go.
Fancy
Yeah.
schmancy.
Yeah,
Hey,
a little bit
I
of
think-
this lovely rum.
Bumbu, isn't that the baby Yoda's name?
Oh, I don't know. I missed that episode.
Oh no, then I
Aw.
won't spoil it for you. I won't spoil
I
it. I
don't,
was gonna
I
do the
don't
spoiler.
care.
but I
Spoil
won't.
all you want to.
Just
you gotta-
watched it.
You gotta watch the newest episode. It's really, really good. Yeah, that's
Don't
all I'll
spoil
say
it for
about
me
it.
either.
Yes, it's really, really good. Baby Yoda has a name, so there you go.
Uh,
Aww.
Yeah,
I
you
have
get-
to
you get
say-
find it.
My favorite part about that whole series is Amy Sedaris.
Which one is she?
She is the
100%.
the mechanic that he
Like
kind
the
of
junk-
joined up with.
Oh,
the
okay.
junk
Yeah.
chick. Also, her brother David Sedaris is one of the greatest authors in America in the past 50 years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So if you're a book nerd, I highly suggest checking out anything by David Sedaris. And Amy Sedaris has some really funny books too.
Perfect. Good to know.
They're like
Thanks for that
craft books.
info.
Yeah, they are. They're like sardonic and deeply sarcastic craft books. Like show up to a party that bring your own thing and just show up with an empty plate with crumbs on it and be like, my cookies were a hit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, her whole book's like that. It's fantastic.
Like 30 different ways to incorporate a toilet paper roll into your like decor.
Yeah, she's dope. So anyway, we digress.
Yes.
Cheers.
Back to, we're doing it again. All right.
Well, but that's kind of the whole point of our podcast and what we've been doing. When we get a couple of guests on and stuff, it's basically like going out for shift beers. After your shift is over and you're sitting around shooting the shit with your friends, talking shop, talking about what we love about the industry, what we hate about it. We're gonna cut out the part where we bitch about our coworkers that are worthless, lazy pieces of shit. Unless there's anybody you guys want to throw under the bus real quick, like we can do that too.
It would be fun, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, that kind of stuff always a little bit went a long way, because you would notice that, like, especially if it was everybody who worked at the same joint would go out to the same bar afterwards and you were all one big crew. Everybody would just bitch and complain and bitch and complain. It would turn into like this bitch fest, and you're just like, like I came to relax and have a good time, and I really don't want to think about work, so that would
feel like I've definitely told people several times, like, if we go out for drinks after this, like, you can not talk to me.
Yeah, like no work-related bullshit
at all. And
no
everything
junk.
we
I'm
say
trying to
is
leave work to go talk.
Yeah.
Everything we say is like off the record,
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, 100.
Absolutely.
But I mean, the downside of that is, sure, the vast majority of our friends are industry friends, but I have a few civilians out there that I hang out with, and all they want to do is they're like, "How was work? What did you hate about it?" And just like needle and prick and pry and like pull at the scab, and I'm like, it's not right. Time is not right.
It's work. I hated everything about it except for the fun stuff. It's like,
right.
Every once in a while there's fun stuff. Every once in a while you have just like the most amazing night where all of your guests are fantastic and you have really good conversations and people are throwing money at you left and right, and you're killing it. You're putting on a show and you're having fun and everything goes smoothly. And then other nights not so much, but it's like, it always seemed way better than putting on a shirt and tie and going and sitting in a cubicle for 8 hours and staring at like a bunch of other cubicles. I'm like,
I'll put on a shirt and tie and go work behind a bar. And,
you put on a shirt and tie because you want it to look good. But I mean,
that's what I do.
Imagine your get up at like, a place where everybody's wearing Dockers and polos, like you'd be a little bit out of place. Like,
you got to read the room.
Exactly. Right.
I've definitely gotten off the clock a few times and walked into, like, remember Inky and Turtle and Hamtramck? Shane? It was the diviest of dive bars from years ago. Shane, tell me you remember this.
Never even.
No. All right, well, there's a Google search for it. It probably sat like 14 people. It was one of those old school divey small bars, vet bars. Me and my buddy walked in and I had the get up on.
Yeah.
And it's like the record scratched and everybody stopped and looked right at the door. I ordered a shot and shot and a beer, and it was like $3 for both of them. I'm like, fuck that. Get 2 shots and 2 beers for everybody in this bar. And
for real. Then
I became friends with everybody.
Yeah. Check out this guy with the fucking cravats and awesome stuff. But it's like what I always appreciated about the way you dress, Joe, is that you own it. You know what I mean? It's like you're comfortable in those clothes. When I wear clothes like that, I'm uncomfortable in them. Like I don't feel comfortable in them. But that's just
fine.
me. But
everybody's got a thing, man.
you rock it, you own it, and you can tell it's like a second skin on you. You know what I mean? Like it's just natural. So that's a good thing.
Well, thank you. And so what I'm dying to know is, since the end of the first lockdown until now, what has everybody's experiences been with guests?
Zero.
Yeah, I want to talk about this.
I've had zero experience with guests. We have been shut down since March 13th at my bar.
We both, and I had the opportunity to go back and didn't. I was like, I cannot in good conscience go and bartend while there's a global pandemic going on and people are allowed to come in and take their mask off and talk to, like, I can't do it. I can't.
Well, I'm immunocompromised, and my father, who I see weekly, has terrible COPD. So I just am not comfortable, and my place isn't even open. Like we literally have not opened for 5 minutes since the entire thing has happened. Cause like I said, we're a nightclub. So nightclubs have all these extra restrictions. We're not supposed to be having places that you can dance indoors. You have to have a sign or like seating for every person that's inside of the bar and everything. And I know that there are nightclubs that are open and they're doing all that stuff, but they're doing it illegally. And the place that I work at is trying to follow the rules and keep people as safe as possible. So I'm super grateful of that, except for I don't have any income right now for 9 months, going on 10 months. So
yeah, I've
not fun.
been working just Saturdays mostly at a but they have built this entire huge outdoor space with a stage and all that kind of stuff. And they put all the tables outside and no one's allowed in the building except if it's just to use the restroom. And we have to kind of stand at the door and we take drink orders. And then they stay outside, we go back in the bar and make the drinks, go back outside, deliver the drinks and to get payment and all that kind of stuff. It's so far it's been cold, not so much. It's kind of too chilly to be standing around outside and listening to techno music. And we have the whole thing of, we have a sign that says, please dance in your heart, because you can't actually dance on the dance floor. So
Shane's cutting out quite a bit.
Yeah.
Still there though.
you know, now and again I've had come in and how about now?
Hold on.
Better?
Talk
A little
now.
bit, yeah. Now it sounds like you're better. And now we're not getting this delay.
Hello. Welcome.
Oh, that's all you had to do was hit that button. Should have done that at the beginning.
So both of the bars that I work at aren't open yet either, and because the second one I work at is City Club, and you know they're trying to follow the rules too. So it's very, very difficult, especially for the nightclub industry. And I commemorate like I commend the people that are like holding nightclubs open and doing everything, but doing it safely and like asking people obviously to dance in their heart and not like on the actual dance floor and everything. That's awesome. But the place I work at, it's impossible. We don't have like a parking lot that we can do outdoor seating or anything like that. So we're just kind of stuck.
Yeah, I basically just like hung up my bar key for now. You know, I'm like, I'm not coming back until
right there.
I'm not coming back until all this is over. I just don't feel comfortable working in a job where I'm, you know, dealing with the public, and it sucks. I miss it, but it's also like, you know, throughout my career bartending, I've always hopped around and done a little other things too. You know, it's like, I did a little bit of this, I did a little bit of that. I quit for a while and I worked construction for a year, and I did this for a year. And I learned this little trade a couple of years ago. And so luckily I had the perfect job to fall into when the shutdown happened, so that I was able to keep working and making money and not deal with the public and not be out there with everybody. But, you know, it's like, I still do the show because it's part of my life and I love it.
Yeah,
and I miss
absolutely.
it. And someday if COVID gets under control and, you know, we're not all scared for our lives, I might go back to it, but no promises. And I haven't made any decisions about it yet. Not until this whole shit show is over.
I feel like for sure I'll be going back to bartending. It's just really difficult with all the restrictions to like find a job bartending right now. Everywhere that you want to go into as a new employee wants me to be like a waitress first or a hostess. And I'm just like, I feel like I've paid my dues. I've been doing this for, 17 years now. And I've been a bartender that entire time. I'm done doing the whole waitressing thing. I don't mind helping out waitressing. I don't mind doing mixed shifts. That's fine. But if I don't get a single bartending shift, then I'm like, I can't. I'm a bartender at heart. That's what I do. That's my passion. So
Right.
it's
Well,
definitely difficult.
I had the good fortune of going back to work. I wouldn't call it good fortune. It didn't turn out the way I had hoped, just because obviously we're all shut down again now. But the place I am working the most out of right now, we have outdoor seating for about 56 people. And it's in Berkeley. So Berkeley Common, shameless plug. We have igloos, outdoor seating, ventilated, heated, everything's good. We spend 30 minutes between reservation only, 30 minutes sanitizing everything. And again, to speak to the safety of it all, I mean, knocking on wood, I'm doing okay. No positive tests yet. Oh my God, I feel like I just jinxed myself. But I've been really fortunate. Once I didn't want to. I mean, let's be honest, dude. When that extra $600 a week was coming through, I was fine. It was great.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then going back to work now, it's going from Detroit to Berkeley is a bit of a hike, but at the same time, I'm not going super crazy like I was the last couple months. Like the last couple months of the first shutdown just drove me absolutely bananas. The first
How
month
do
and a
y'all
half
feel about those like enclosed igloos?
on the fence. I mean, I work with them, but I'm on the fence. But we're doing everything we can to sanitize and clean and UV lights and everything we can do.
Because isn't that just indoor outdoor seating at that point?
It really
That's what
is,
I
man.
feel like.
Yeah, and it really is. I mean, the irony of it all is great because you can't sit inside where there's good ventilation and lots of space, but you can sit outside as long as you're
this
covered.
bubble
Yeah.
that's full of germs.
Where
Even
everybody,
those little like wedding ceremony tents that they have for outdoors, it's like you're still sitting inside of a room, you're still sitting in an enclosed space, and there's no air coming in and out. At least with like the indoors and stuff, there's like people that are like walking in and out and the doors are opening and everything like that, where this like little bubble thing, it's like just all keep it closed up as much as possible. People aren't like
Right.
keeping it open, and
There's not even any windows.
right, there's no windows.
there are windows. We have windows in ours, I should say, that you can. There's two vents. They're triangular vents that you can unzip and open. It's kind of like the big doors right there, and then if you go in about 90 degrees either way, there's another.
I was walking.
Okay, but why would you open them if you? Go ahead.
I was away from Detroit for a minute, and I was doing a video thing, and I was at a restaurant where they have the igloos, and the server would approach it by himself, and he has trays and trays of food, and he really had no way to like unzip the whole igloo to like get in. So he just like set the trays down on the ground, and it was like snowing. And I was just like, oh, I didn't even think about like how to like even maneuver like a tent zipper, to like I mean, I have a hard enough time getting in and out of a tent, let alone after a couple cocktails. I can only imagine how sloppy that would be for me.
So we have 4 tents, soon to be 5, and we have a table at right by the main door, so we can either set it there and open it up that way, or with the windows, if depending on how people feel about it, we'll just hand them through there.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean,
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in good hands, but I mean at the same time, it's such a crapshoot. No matter what happens, no matter who goes where, the virus is everywhere. you know?
Well,
Exactly.
going back to what I was saying about being at Tangent one night, we were talking about customers. I had 3 people come in and none of them were wearing masks, and they walked right up to the bar to try to order. And I was like, oh, actually, you have to order outside. Also, you have to have a mask on to be in the building. And then one of the women lit a cigarette in the bar, and I was just like, okay, so now we're
like
even
10
like
years
past the
or more.
pleasantries of like, I was like, what year do you think this is? Get out of my bar now. Like, you can't smoke a cigarette in here. And she walked to the door. She was still inside the bar, and she walked right up to the exit. And then I was like, no, all the way outside. And she blew her fucking cigarette smoke in my face. And I
Get
was
the
like,
fuck
during a
outta here.
pandemic, you're lucky I won't hit a woman. But like, seriously,
Oh,
like,
I'll make
during
an
a
exception.
pandemic,
That's
I
fucked
will
up.
make an exception. Like,
There was nothing womanly
for
about her.
you.
She was a straight up bitch.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
So
That's
then I kicked all
crazy.
3 of them out, and her boyfriend, who was like 5'2", he came back in and he was like, "You're an asshole. I'm gonna kick your ass." And I was like, "No, you're not." And he was like, "Yeah, I will." And he like tried to jump over the bar, but the bar is huge. Like, it's literally probably like 4 feet wide. And so he kept like, and he kept trying to like hoist his little body up over the bar. And I was like, "You're not gonna do anything." And then he kept being like, "I'm gonna kick your ass." I was like, "No, you won't." And then he threw a whole jug of hand sanitizer at me, and it completely missed and just landed at my feet. And I just looked at him and I go, "Are you done? Get out of the bar." Like,
Poor little Napoleon.
Aw.
Oh, that's
Aw.
awesome. Well, you handled that very well, Shane. I like your style on handling.
Shane's
that.
always been
that's
very
pandemic
diplomatic.
bartending.
Yeah.
Ah,
I can always like know when somebody is gonna come up and just be a fucking Karen. For
oh yeah,
sure. I can
they've
always
got it written
tell.
all over their face. They can you can just tell by their body language when you start telling them what the rules are, and I'm like, I'm really glad that I didn't go back, because I'm hearing all the horror stories about pandemic rules and people not, and people get drunk and they're like, it's no big deal. And you're like, no, it kind of is.
No,
a big
it's kind of
deal.
is.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Still a pandemic globally.
So I mean, and going back to work, it's like as soon as I could, it was right down the middle. People were either super compassionate or super Karen and Kyle.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Oh, I don't want to wear a mask, and I'm going to order off the menu. I'm like, I'm sorry, maybe you're in the wrong place. Maybe you're more suited for Greektown.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, no,
You know?
no shame to Greektown. I work right next to that.
I know. I got to stop doing that shit. I've spent more time in the burbs lately, so I got to say, like, oh, take that shit back to insert burb here.
Insert burp.
Royal Oak. Say Royal Oak.
Hey!
Tell you what, I would rather hang out. I would rather hang out in
Birmingham.
Royal Oak
I don't know.
I
no,
live in Ferndale. It's basically Royal Oak 2.0.
right.
Hey, I mean, I worked in Royal Oak for years, and like at the big fucking nightclubby place, like the exact spot that everybody's talking about. So
Blackfin.
but it was fun. No,
Aren't they shut down?
Hoodies, O'Toole's,
I
Fifth
hosted
Ave.
trivia. I hosted trivia at Blackfen for a couple of years, and so I got to know all the people that worked there really well. No, I worked at Fifth Avenue for like 4 years bartending.
I knew it.
Yeah, totally Fifth Avenue. I had the haircut, so obviously I was going to bartend there. That's all you need is the haircut. Like that's all. For a guy, you just got to have the haircut and know how to pour a couple of drinks.
I think
Amen.
the last time I went to Fifth Avenue, it was like Christmas night, and it was like, I don't know, midnight or something, and they were fucking slammed. I was like, and they were understaffed, and I was like, y'all need me behind the bar right now.
Well, currently they took over like the entire like, what is that, 5th Street? Like they took over the whole street and built this like deck space that has like individual tables on it. The whole street
They
is literally
did?
the whole street is literally just Fifth Avenue now.
Yep.
Isn't it right next to O'Toole's or something?
Yeah.
O'Toole's
Yeah.
isn't doing anything?
It is. So yeah, it's like and there's a bar across the street, so they all kind of share it. But it's basically like a weird little one-way street anyways down there, and it
Yeah,
like
'cause the
cuts off
railroad
by the
tracks right
railroad
there.
tracks. So that, yeah, it makes sense that they just like closed it off. They're like, all right, now you can't drive here anymore, so that we can keep making money.
I mean,
and partying.
it was a cutoff street anyway. It didn't even have a go through for the train tracks.
Right, you have to go down and then turn right.
Yeah,
You
you'd
can't
have to
drive
turn
through.
around. Yeah, you'd have to turn right down like an alley or whatever, and it's just
Behind
like
Woody's.
fuck that place. Yeah, just like whatever. Turn that all into. It's just like Ann Arbor is doing the same thing. Like they were having, all of Liberty Street, which is actually like a main road that people go down. They were turning Liberty Street into just all outdoor seating, and during the summer they had like DJs outside and entire patios that never existed before just in the street.
I'm,
And you can help out these businesses,
I'm all for changing things up and like, hey, you know what? There's a pandemic and we got to figure out a way to make this work. So let's figure out a way to make it work. I'm all for that, like ingenuity and like, if you've got plastic like all the way from the ceiling down to the floor and tiny little holes cut out and I can pass you your drink between that, like figure stuff out, guys. That's
sure.
What, we're innovative. We're geniuses. We're fucking adaptable.
You're allowed
we'll do whatever it takes.
To go drinks now. Just do a fucking
That's
literal
the social
walk,
district thing.
getting
The
outside
social
a
district.
walk-up bar.
What do you mean?
Yeah, social district,
Social
walking
district.
around, all that kind of stuff.
So they turned what is it? So it's the Baltimore and
The Well?
Yep. And
Oh, yeah, the
Buffalo
Well.
Wild Wings
And
and
Buffalo
whatever
Wild
the
Wings.
other one is right there. That whole like street and then behind it in the parking lot is considered the social district. So you can actually just have open intox in that area, whether you bring it from a liquor store or you buy to-go cocktails from a bar. You can just be there outside drinking, and no one really is monitoring like you coming in or out. So like over the summer, I mean, there was nights when there was literally 2,000 people just hanging out in that general corner of the city and not a mask in sight, not a single person.
Yeah,
giving a
that's
heck.
the problem.
They're
See,
just
that's
like
when
pounding
things
bottles
is
that they
not
buy at the
right.
liquor store, and they're not even supporting the business. They're just hanging out because they want to be out of the house.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's you definitely have to have some controls on it. And but again, I'm all for the businesses staying open. I'm all for save our industry, figure out a way to do it, figure out a way to do it safely, figure out a way to do it and keep these businesses afloat, because it's going to be rough. A lot of people are going to lose their businesses. A lot of people are going to go out and not open back up. It's
And
gonna suck.
people like me, where I am 33 years old and I've only ever worked in bars since the day I turned 18. I've only ever worked in bars. I don't have any other skill sets. Not to say that I'm not talented in other things or whatever,
Right.
but this is something that I've honed my skill. I
It's a
have
career.
It's a career, exactly. I've worked my way from the bottom of the bottom to the top of the top. And now you want me to just completely give that up and move on and start from the bottom somewhere else at 33 years old with a house, animals, roommates, and, a car payment, car insurance, it's like, it's not like I'm a kid living with my parents and I don't have any bills and I don't have any responsibilities.
No, I
most certainly
honestly
do.
like our whole industry needs like a big bailout. Like they gave the big three, like they gave Wall
For
Street.
real.
They need to bail out the restaurant industry this time.
Not to
because,
billion-dollar companies like what was it? The Ritz-Carlton got $1 billion or $1 million or something like that. Like
Shake Shack gave us
Ritz-Carlton
back.
doesn't need any fucking money.
They did.
They
Well,
don't need
there's a
any
lot-
fucking money, dude. The Ritz-Carlton
thing
is
is-
perfectly fine.
There's
Well,
a lot
that's
of
where all those
people
fraud
that work
allegations
for
are coming
them,
from.
and they got taken care of, But yeah, no, I agree. It's they have to do some kind of mass stimulus to bail out like the restaurant industry in general.
What
All
about
the people that
were
like
in the
rely on
middle
it.
of building up their new restaurant that was never able to open?
Right? Yeah.
I actually know someone personally who was in the middle of building up his new place and was ready to open, and shit happened and we haven't opened once. And it's like, this dude has been sitting on rent and utilities and stuff for 10 months, almost a year, without any revenue whatsoever, because they can't get the inspections done. They can't get nothing. It's like everything's come to a standstill. And
then even if you do get your inspections taken care of and all that kind of stuff, how are you actually going to navigate with the new rules, and how are you going to
Right.
actually promote your business as a dining establishment, as a drinking establishment? How are you going to do that in the midst of a pandemic when no one's allowed to come inside, when no one's
Right.
allowed to set foot inside? It just, it's almost literally just the nail in the coffin for so many people.
And the trying to get people interested in a new business
Right.
and everything, while the rent is still due on the 1st and all the utilities are still due throughout this entire thing. That shit doesn't just stop for these people. They're literally still spending their entire life savings on keeping this afloat, hoping that pretty soon they can open, pretty soon they can open, pretty soon they can open. And
then they open, and what happens? They get shut down for 3 weeks.
They get shut down again. Exactly.
And
it's
I
like,
don't think this 3-week shutdown is gonna end at 3 weeks. I think
oh
it's gonna
no.
keep going.
What was
No.
it? November 27th, we had almost 17,000 new cases in one
Yeah.
day
In
in
one day.
Michigan alone.
Well, I feel
I
like
mean,
I feel
granted-
like there's a double-edged sword, because there's part of me that is like, I super support a lockdown, and I super support like people being like, hey, sit down. Like, everyone just sit down for
I
5
support a
minutes and let's
lockdown.
try to figure this out. But if you're gonna do that, then you need to give people money, and you need to give people something to
Exactly.
live on, because we
Exactly.
can't just sit down and my
I
rent doesn't stop, my
personally
health insurance doesn't
support
stop, my car
lockdown.
payment doesn't stop.
Right.
You know?
Oh, that's-
Exactly. I
Yeah,
support
awesome.
lockdown, but my rent is still due every month, and I'm not
Exactly.
getting shit from unemployment. I'm getting $100 a week. My rent alone is $950 a month. My rent
Fuck.
alone. So any money I had in savings,
I have a
That's
2-year-old
just-
daughter. How can I live off unemployment?
exactly, quickly dwindling. Even if you get the $325 or whatever the fuck it is that they give people, whatever it is,
Yeah.
even if it's almost $400, that doesn't matter, because
That's
in
nothing.
reality, most
No.
people in the service industry are not getting that. And I know I'm not. I know a million other people that aren't, and I know a million other people that haven't been paid since day one.
And
Right.
most people in the industry have
Still.
we've also become accustomed to our lifestyles actually needing to make more than $400 a week. We
$400
the reason
a
why we
night.
stay in our industry is because we
My car
can make
payment
that
is
in a day or two.
$400 a month. Like,
No, I mean, like, even if I'm working at a place that's just okay, I can make 400 on a weekend easily.
you should
Like,
live within
Oh,
your
easily.
400.
Yeah.
400
I
isn't even a
was,
great
Karen.
weekend. Yeah, that's not a week. Anyways, so it's about the end of our podcast here. We got to get off
Sorry.
because the next show's got to get on. It's
All right.
okay. Like, we had a good
Uh,
time. It was really nice to meet you, Shane. It's always a pleasure to see you, Joe. We're gonna
Thanks,
leave everybody
Randy.
with
Thanks,
a
Lauren.
shot.
Shane,
I don't
Oh,
know how
good.
they're gonna figure
Hey,
it
wait.
out, but I hope they figure it out.
can I do something real quick? I'm
Absolutely.
I'm
Please
having
do.
a little bit of an attention. Someone needs more attention right now. Bella, say hi.
Oh,
Oh,
Shots up for the pooch.
Bella.
Look at her.
look at that
Hi,
baby.
baby.
Mwah, 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 mwah.
Patooties.
Everybody loves dogs and bartenders, and I'll drink
So
to that.
let me just
I'll
say
drink to
really
that.
quick to the people who have sent us emails, thank you so much.
Yay, we love
We
you.
are so happy that you have. We're trying to like get up a couple so that way we can read them on the air or something, make a little mini episode. If not, then we'll kind of like get a chance to do it sometime this week. We'll go over it and read them. But please, if you have anything that you want to send to us, some stories of your time behind the bar, working in the bar industry, as a patron of a bar, we don't care. Send us your stories. We want to read them. They're super interesting. Send them to us at barsidetales, TALES, @gmail.com. We would love
Cheers,
to hear
guys.
from you. Cheers,
Cheers.
guys.
Shane,
Thanks
good to
for
see you,
coming
brother.
on.
Good to see you.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Love you too. We'll see you next week.